So I'll try to get some shots of how I'm doing this now by putting the camera on the hood. Okay, so basically I'm either starting out with either this coarse green sanding pad, which is, I don't know, well, it may be 180 or something. It's a coarse green sanding pad. Most of it I've been doing just with 220 wet and dry sandpaper. And basically just wetting the area down. You see the water trying to beat up, you know. And because of my eggshell paint job, which is what they call when you don't know what you're doing very well, I can tell when I'm getting close because that eggshell, even the water changes. Like now I can feel it. You know, it feels like the whole sanding pad is gripping the paint. You know, rather than riding on ball bearings, which is what it felt like when I started. So anyway, I just start sanding the area. Now I know that this area out here, you know, leading edge, and you know, the water would accumulate here more. So that's where I will put more pressure. Of course, every edge, and you have to be careful on the edges because it does not take much to sand through. So now I'm starting to get, you know, I'll clean it up a little bit. Now I'm starting to show through on the leading edge, you know. So I'll just continue this. I'll squirt it off with my bottle, you know, so I can see what I'm doing. You know, rust tends to accumulate in the corners of things, you know, so I might go in the corner a little bit and hit it a little harder. So that's the method. So that's the method. And you see it doesn't take too long, you know. So I'll continue on this way, you know, again, trying to highlight the parts that the weather would affect the most. And I'm really tickled with the way it's coming out, you know. It was yellow before, and you can see that little spot right there. I'll have several little spots where it sanded down to the yellow and through my black primer coat. Those I'll have to go back and just touch up, you know, with a little black. Anyway, I'm gonna keep sanding, and then I will get back to y'all after I'm finished. Okay, so I thought I'd do a little update on the Bronco because it's starting to get pretty close to the clear coat. So to try to get the really faded look on this Patina Rat Rod paint job that I'm trying, which I'm pretty happy with. I purchased a airbrush gun and I got some white base from my auto parts store, and then I was going to blend the white base into the areas that I sanded. So I'll show you. I'll try to get some video of me putting this airbrush thing is I think this cup holds 1.3 ounces. I don't know, I'll try to put a link to the airbrush in the description. But like 1.3 ounces on this stuff will almost do a whole side. So, I mean, it's very little paint that I'm putting down. And then, even after I put it down, I'm going over it with a 600 grit paper to kind of blend it in. So actually what I'm gonna show you is kind of the point to where I'm happy with, I guess, as far as getting ready to put the clear coat on. So I'll show you this patina aged look. Hope that's showing up okay. And it'll be a tad bit darker after the clear goes on. I'm gonna wipe it with this wet rag so you can kind of get an idea. Sorry about that. So you can kind of see now that maybe it looks like some aged and oxidized paint. It will not be that shiny with the clear coat on there because I'm going with a matte clear coat. This is just to give you an idea of what the finished product is gonna look like. So when I'm laying the white down with the airbrush gun, this is what it looks like when I get finished with the airbrush. So then I'm going over this with a 600 grit paper and some water, you know, to try to get this effect up here, you know. So like I said, I'm happy with it. This airbrush gun, it took some playing with this airbrush gun to get it. I mean, you can turn this knob on the back, which that's what lets paint come out the tip. So in other words, it's a dual action airbrush. So when I mash down, the air comes out, and it's running on about 20 something PSI. When I mash down, the air comes out, and when I pull this lever back, that's what distributes the paint. So the more you pull the lever back, the more paint, you know. So if I screw this knob in all the way, I can push down, but I cannot pull it back to let paint out. So what I would do is just get just a little bit, that's probably too much, just a little bit of paint coming out, you know, because I can always add more paint. It's a lot easier to add more paint. But I mean, this thing's been pretty fun. I wouldn't paint the whole Bronco with it, but I use it for a lot of the touch-up stuff, and if I do anything else to the Bronco. So I'm gonna hook the airbrush back up, and then I'll try to set the camera up so you can see me laying the white base coat down on some of my edges and some of the spots that might wear on the Bronco. Okay, so the yellow hose just has a regular attachment on the end, and then this is the airbrush hose. I think I went and got it at Hobby Lobby just because Amazon couldn't get it here quick enough. Which I just put a regular air hose fitting on there, so you know, it goes on like that. And then the other end has a quick disconnect, you know, that goes on to the paint gun. Like that. Okay, and then I don't know if y'all can hear it, but that's very little air coming out, you know. It's just got a little press-on cap. Here's that base that I mixed up. Keep the lid on it tight to try to keep it. I don't know how long this stuff will last mixed together. But anyway, so I just pour a little bit in here. And I'm telling you, it don't take much. Probably should have done this back over at that table where I had places to sit stuff down. I'm gonna try to hold all this together. Then I put my top back on, like so. And now I've got a little board over here that has some black on it just so I can see what I'm doing. That's just the air coming out, and that's the air and paint. The closer I get, of course, the more it puts down. The further I get, the less it puts down. And so I'm happy with that setting right there. You know, and with this airbrush gun, it helps a lot with this thinned out paint to mash the air button down, distribute paint, and then release it so that it blows any paint that may have accumulated on the tip. it'll blow it onto the vehicle. You know, if I start and stop with the handle distributing paint, then it'll spittle a little thing on there. It's not that big a deal in this because I'm hitting it with 600. I'm just, you know, it's something that I started at the beginning doing and not liking, and then figured out how to make it stop. So I've already put a little bit of base on here, or the airbrush stuff on here. So I'm gonna show you just how I was doing it. So and since this is supposed to look aged, you know, I mean, I think it's hard to mess up, you know. I mean, and sandpaper fixes any mistakes, so I don't understand, you know. I think it's a DIY thing, unless it all peels off next week, you know. I don't think it will. I have painted things before, but see what I'm saying? And then so some of these spots here that would have crack, you know, they might have the same fading in the crack. You know, I don't have to worry about really behind the sign. Probably getting paint on my camera. I won't have it fit. Then occasionally you just make it a little irregular. I'm not doing a very good job of following the, you know, occasionally you just make it a little bit irregular and bring it up, you know, to show some fade. I'll continue on up here and see. So I'm not trying to get up into the areas I've revealed too much because, you know, supposedly that would not have that much fading on it. I'll get up into it a little bit when there's some spots. You can even hold it down a little bit so it'll cast that overspray down. I'm sure somebody that actually knows how to do anything I'm trying to do would have no problem just using an airbrush and no sandpaper. All right, so you can kind of see how I'm doing it and what it looks like. Then, and it doesn't take but a second for this to dry, I'm gonna set this airbrush gun down. I don't want to spill my paint. Oh, that's made for it right there. Man, like Ford thought of everything. So then I'm gonna get some of my water and whatever I did with the sandpaper, and see there's some little bitty spittle dots that came out. I don't know if y'all can see that or not, but little bitty white spittle dots. It don't matter, that's gonna come off as soon as we get some stuff on it. All right, then ever so lightly all right, and I'll drop that, pick up my little wet towel. Oh, why's everything got to be on the ground? All right, so then we'll just rub over this. And that's what we got. So I did start off in an inconspicuous area. Maybe not inconspicuous, but these front quarter panels, the quarter panel, I don't, you know, being this part right here. Okay, so the front quarter panel is where I started playing because it's so easy to fix. It would be very easy for me to tape that thing off and just put blue base down on it again and start over. I mean, as far as not having a bunch of, you know, grates in it or hinges and stuff like that, gas tank knobs. So the front quarter panel is where I started when I kind of got my technique figured out, which it didn't take but a second because I'm not laying down hardly any paint, you know. I did the same thing on revealing the primer underneath that started on the front quarter panel. And like I said, this has got that black base and some red oxy on there. Of course, this would have aged the most. I know you're not supposed to touch it, you know, but like I said, I'll wash it and go over it with the greaser after. I didn't want to fix all my cracks in the paint because, I mean, I was wanting it to look old, you know, and wanting it to be somewhat rat roddy. So anyway, I'll finish all the airbrushing today. And if you have any questions, or, you know, please ask them, even though I have no idea what I'm doing. But I can tell you what I don't know what I'm doing. If I kind of recap what I have done, I guess. So I started with the Bronco with the yellow paint coat on it that was in bad shape, coming off. It was not the right amount of prep work done to it, so it was flaking off in a lot of places. Plus, I don't like yellow. So I wanted to paint it a color that I liked and that I could use the Bronco and not worry about it getting scratched. I wanted to do it myself. I also wanted to know every step of it, and I don't mind working. So I don't think that it would look as good to me if I had done it as an amateur painter. It would have definitely looked like an amateur. I'm not saying this doesn't, you know, but I'm more happy with this than I am with an amateur, just full paint job on it. That just doesn't look to me. I mean, and I didn't want to go and get it professionally done and spend $5,000 to $10,000 and then not be able to ride it and use it like I want to. So it's just a paint job, you know. If I don't like it, I can change it. So I'm gonna keep going with this. I'm gonna I sanded it off with 320, you know, and did any body work I had to do. There's plenty of videos on body work and everything. I am not a body man, so that's why I haven't showed a lot of this process, because you don't need to listen to me. I'm just telling you the way that I did it, my opinion. 320, then 180, you know, and then I sprayed it with a 2K or a 2-part. It had a hardener, an activator or whatever, black primer. Then I came back over the high spots that I knew were going to be revealed with a rust or red oxide colored primer. And then I came back with I did sand that a little bit to, again, blend again the red oxide and the black. I sand my high spots and everything with some 180 and then some 220, you know. And then came back with my blue base coat over the whole thing. Now I knew in some areas I was not gonna need it as heavy because I was gonna be sanding it. So I did, you know, go a little lighter than I probably should have with the blue. I went heavy with the black base coat because I wanted some cushion in my sanding as far as not revealing the yellow underneath. Then after the blue base coat, I went over the whole thing with 400. And then after the 400, I came back with my white base coat in my airbrush gun and started dusting some places. And now I'm hitting those dusted places with 600, which then I'll probably go over the whole thing with 600 very lightly, you know. And then I'm gonna put the matte clear coat on there, put all the stuff back on it, and start mashing the gas pedal. So that's the update. I'll get some video of me putting some of the white base down through the airbrush gun and a little bit of the sanding. And then the next thing y'all probably see is me laying some clear coat down. All right, see you in a little bit. GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording. Okay, so now I'm ready to spray the flat or matte clear coat on it. As you can see, I don't have the whole thing taped off because it's matte clear coat. I mean, I'm gonna put a something under the hood over the hole in there, but the rest of it I can control enough, and if it gets over on something, it's not gonna matter that much. All I can control it. It'll be a lower pressure, and I'm not worried about it. So anyway, I'll start laying some clear on it. Okay, so I finished, got the clear coat down. I think I'm tickled. It's tack free now. I mean, you can touch it and it doesn't stick, but it supposedly takes 24 hours to cure. I did take some of the stuff, the masking off. I will start reassembly tomorrow as far as bumpers, lights, etc. and so forth. But I'm happy with it. So now maybe next time y'all see it, it'll have door handles and mirrors, emblems, blah, blah, blah. All right, see y'all. Okay, that pretty much ends up the exterior DIY paint job. I will start on the interior next. So I hope maybe y'all saw some stuff that y'all might could try or things not to do. I don't know. I will do the interior next, which is not going to be near as lengthy a process. And I'll post videos on that if y'all want to. Just put some comments below. So anyway, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see y'all in the next video. Go on, Cat.